Welcome to the Dacus Report, hosted by Pacific Justice Institute founder and president Brad Dacus. For 25 years, PJI has counseled, represented, and defended people whose religious freedoms, parental rights, or sanctity of life have been obstructed or violated, all free of charge. We leave no one behind and level the playing field for Americans as they are subjected to the tyranny of the powerful. Now, here's Brad Dacus.
Welcome to the Dacus Report. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Brad Dacus, president of the Pacific Justice Institute.
Today's show, we're going to look at a number of interesting cases from Oregon to Texas to other parts of the country impacting your freedoms and your liberties, and also the perspective that we should have in dealing with some of these challenges. You know, like, for example, the issue with the mobs, and, you know, how do we deal with that as Christians? We're going to talk about this in this show today. But to help me do that, I'd like to bring to the program our special, continued, repeated guest host, Kyle Campbell, who is a commentator and also the host of the podcast, Politically Basic. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Hey, Brad. Always good to see you and be with you, and thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the program, and I'd like to start off with this big win that people are talking about all across the country that we had at Pacific Justice Institute in the state of Texas. So I'm going to give a sort of brief summary on it, and I'll let you interject on the summary too. But this case is about a school district just near Waco, Texas, north of Waco. And the principal decided to cancel the graduation ceremony. And he said it's because most of the kids can't graduate, which was a lie. It was because just a few kids couldn't graduate. And he wanted a perfect, spotless record. And he knew the State Board of Education was watching this school district very closely because of their terrible track record in the past. So he decided he would effectively punish all the students, have them peer pressure against the few that did not do what they're supposed to in order to graduate. And he felt he could get away with it. But then everything seemed to unravel, didn't it?
Wow, what a case and what a judgment financial award against this school district and this principal, Brad. I mean, this is $7.5 million that was just awarded to the plaintiffs, these 5 plaintiffs who you represented. So first and foremost, congratulations on such a success. But this is a wild story that someone would be so punitive to students who've worked hard. The case found allegedly that they were in fact eligible to graduate after all. And when reading through the details of this, from your office, I mean, I was just blown away at how retaliatory this school was against these students, these families, how they tried to place a criminal trespassing ban on one of the parents who was the mother of the valedictorian who was restricted from speaking. They went after her and kind of defamed her in public. I mean, what an absolute epic disaster this was, just because one person was more interested in their, personal resume than the futures really of these graduates, these few that were claimed to not be able to graduate, but all of the graduates at this entire school, because an entire ceremony had been shut down and canceled. So I'm thrilled to see the result, but it's just awful that these kids and their families had to experience this and go through it.
And if it was just the graduation ceremony, I mean, that would be enough to be outrageous. Like, this guy is a loser. He should resign. The fact you'd do something like that to all these kids who've worked hard, achieved. But it's so much worse than that, because after this was announced, some of the parents said, no, we're objecting to this. This is outrageous. And so they had a community meeting, like a school board meeting, but it was specifically addressed parents on the graduation issue. And one of the parents, she was very outspoken, and she communicated, I think it was Monica Johnson, about her objection to this. She didn't threaten at any time the superintendent, but the superintendent didn't like what she was saying. So she went ahead and so the superintendent, he went ahead and Mr. Daryl Henson went ahead and ordered the police there to have her removed, physically removed from the meeting. And you can't do that. She has a First Amendment right to be able to express herself in public meetings just like everyone else. It's the right of not just free speech, but the right of redress of government. And it could be at a city council meeting, school board meeting. They have to give an opportunity for the people to address, but it's maybe just a 1-minute opportunity, but an opportunity to address their concerns or their thoughts. So her constitutional rights were violated. But not only that, but I think her daughter was a valedictorian, if I'm not mistaken, or
Right.
yeah. So her daughter's a valedictorian of a graduation that was canceled. Her daughter wanted to be able to give the speech. Well, what happened after the grades were done, they got a notice that her grades were changed. This is after the parents objected. So no, your grades have been lowered in 2 classes. We lowered your grades in 2 classes. You're now number 3. You're not number 1 anymore. I mean, it's just retaliation after retaliation. Then, they had a cease and desist order against the parents who are objecting to this, a letter threatening a criminal trespass if they step foot on the school campus or the administration building. They were just totally silenced, intimidated, retaliated. Even the younger brother, get this, the younger brother of the girl who was the valedictorian supposed to graduate, he's like in elementary school, right? They received notice that his grades were also lowered. I mean, this superintendent is just bottom of the barrel as far as I'm concerned. Totally bottom of the barrel.
Wrong job. I mean, if your entire job is to oversee the education and success of these students, and this is how you're acting, I mean, no wonder this judgment was just such a high dollar number. These are outrageous actions of someone who should be doing the exact opposite in the position they've been given. And you trust people in these positions of authority within a school or a school system. And to see that it seems very personal, these attacks that really are going to hurt these children and their future for years to come is just absolutely despicable. It's really shocking, Brad.
Yeah, and the cease and desist letters were to silence their criticism. I mean, it's a violation of the First Amendment rights of free speech, but also their right to be able to, of due process, to be able to make their claims or complaints. So what they told them, they were told is the school district said to them, so yeah, you go ahead and file your complaints about the superintendent and submit those to the superintendent, and he'll review the complaints about the superintendent. Of course, we see how crazy that is. I mean, what the superintendent says, judge, jury, prosecution, defendant. Right. I mean, and of course, he didn't give any heedance at all to any credibility at all to what was being brought against him by the concerned parents in that community. Parents were outraged in that community. It's a small town. And, the story, the girl who was graduating with valedictorian, her parents and her grandparents both, they graduated from that high school in the small town. Really meant a lot to them. Then to have it taken, not only that she was demoted, and then they said there's going to be no graduation speech. But they finally, after they're confronted with it, they couldn't justify it. So then they brought her grades back up so that she would be valedictorian, but still couldn't give the speech. Right. And first time ever in the history of the graduation ceremonies that there's no valedictorian speech. So this was very totalitarian. But here's the real rub on this that people need to understand. And I know people listening to this are going to say to themselves, wait a minute, my school district's like that. That's how we are. And the problem is, if a school district can get away with this to retaliate against parents when they complain about something that's happening to their children or an injustice or something wrong in school, then that's very dangerous because parents will be silent, not just because of retaliation against them, but retaliation against their children. I can't tell you, Kyle, how many times I've talked to parents and I said, look, this is outrageous. This is terrible what they're doing to your son or your daughter, preventing them from doing this or that, or harassing them because of their Christian faith. We can represent you and do this and this. They said, oh no, if we do this, then it's just going to get all the worse for my children. So I've got to be silent. I've got to be silent because there is no due process protection when it comes to teacher union run public schools. They seem like they have this ultimate authority to do what they want. And of course, that's why schools are going down the drain. Public schools are pathetic, especially in the state of California. But that's why they're going down the drain, and why parents are pulling their kids out and homeschooling them, or homeschool co-ops or private schooling. So this is very real. It's very widespread. Well, that's why this case is very important, because these damages are huge against the superintendent personally, in his personal capacity. The sheriff, the police department for the school district, they have their own police department. So they're not under the scrutiny of the independent police department. They have their own little police department who are accountable to the superintendent. So he's got his little army, dictate what he wants, violate the Constitution. Well, that chief of police is also liable personally. And punitive damages, they had monetary damages. Punitive damages was basically $250,000 against the chief of police, and $3,753,000 against the superintendent. This affirms that public officials cannot retaliate against citizens for protected speech, and reinforces accountability for public school districts. It sends a loud signal across the country, even if they're out of Texas.
It sure does. Oh my gosh, yes. And I always say this on your show, but, thank goodness for you all and PJI and your attorneys. And if people are hearing this and thinking, maybe they have the makings of a case, or they have had these rights trampled on, and they think they have no redress, they think they have no recourse or help. You always say this, you say, pick up the phone and we'll talk you through it. But it might seem like a small thing, a small issue. It's absolutely not. And what these students and these families had to go through was awful, because a graduation is such a prominent life moment. It's something that you will remember your entire life, something that you work hard for. And for those students who choose not to go on to college, this is it. This is the graduation for them. So it's so tragic that they had to go through this and experience it. But look at the way that they have paved for others who might find themselves in a similar situation. And that number put up on the board, Brad, that means something. This is a huge award for damages, as it should be. And so I want to encourage people, no issue is too small to make sure that your rights are being protected and the laws of this nation are being followed, which does not seem to be the most popular thing right now. And some groups, some organizations, and certainly within the public school system is one of these groups that thinks that maybe they can just charge forward, aggress on those rights, and that no one will step up and stand up to them.
Did you know that PJI preserves students' rights to share their faith and protects them from indoctrination? We also provide free resources to help promote evangelism within the public schools, and educational resources to give parents legal advice for choosing an alternative to public education. Keep current on the educational landscape by signing up for our Legal Insider email newsletter at pji.org. Now, back to the Dacus Report.
What some of our children are being taught with radical LGBTQ propaganda. There's no place that's safe in this country, but some states have passed laws to try to curtail it. Other states like California, New York, Oregon, Washington, Illinois have passed laws to try to fan the flames of perversion and confusion in our children. It's really sad. Now, I will say this: if there's any teachers out there, public school teachers in California, that are a little bewildered, you don't know what to do, to abide by the demands of SB 5, to go through that kind of orientation, indoctrination program, where it causes you to be feel like you're the oppressor. It does the oppressor oppressee, the victim thing, as well, the CRT thing. It's absolutely just rampant, just 100% evil, just about. It's really, really sick. So if you're a teacher out there and you're like, I don't want to go through this violates my conscience, convictions, I can't pretend and shake my head up and down to something that I know is evil and wrong. We have a number of teachers who have already contacted us, and we're providing representation. So I can't give more details than that, but if you're in that situation, you want legal representation without charge, or at least legal counsel, go to our website, pji.org, pji.org. pji.org, and we'll be happy to help you and serve you in any way we can. You know, we have something going on that's I want to address, and I think it's very important. Our nation has, we as Christians are exhorted to be lawful and obedient to government, to obey its rules. Now, when the laws and rules go against the teachings of Scripture, then okay. Then we need to, this day we'll serve the Lord over man. But Romans chapter 13, we're exhorted to respect government leaders, respect of officials, including law enforcement. There's so much Scripture about, not in any way assisting evil or criminals or crooks, but instead to be on the side of the righteous. And we should support law enforcement and seeing evil people, criminals brought to justice, et cetera, et cetera. And yet we look at what's happening in Minneapolis and some other parts of the country where we have mobs basically mobbing for one reason, to defend criminals, to protect criminals from being taken by law enforcement. Now, the law enforcement here is called ICE, but what if it's the FBI? Or what if it was police? I mean, there's really no difference here as far as constitutional goes, as far as principle goes. We have a governmental entity, law enforcement, going after to arrest criminals, not people who are innocent, people who are breaking the law one way or the other. And instead, we have local communities, radical, I think they're demon-possessed, frankly, saying, no, we're down with you, law enforcement, you who are risking your lives to protect us against criminals, arrest criminals. No, we're for the criminals. We're going to help the criminals escape. This is not a gray area, folks. I think you'll agree with me on this too, Kyle. This is not a gray area. This is an area that's very clear-cut. If you're a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ, if you believe in right and wrong, you should not be in favor of harboring criminals, of helping criminals escape, of being a part of these mobs, these hate-filled, sadistic, demonic mobs whose purpose is to hate law enforcement, people who are sacrificing and risking to arrest people who are either here illegally and or even more likely, more than 7 out of 10 of them are not just here illegally, but they've committed crimes, rape, murder, burglaries, pedophilia activities. And they're still out there. And the reason they're out there is because you have the thugs in Minnesota, or people who are paid to come in from other places to make it hard for law enforcement. I am tired of the church being silent and Christians being silent and intimidated. We need to be very outspoken and supportive of all law enforcement, including ICE, that are out there arresting criminals. You want to wait till your child is raped, till your husband's murdered, till your house is burned down or robbed? I mean, if we don't speak up, we're begging for this kind of retribution on ourselves. And especially the Christians there in Minneapolis, St. Paul. No longer be silent. And finally, specifically to you pastors, it's time that we not be pleasers of men. You know darn well what's right and wrong here. You know that it's wrong for criminals to not be arrested and prosecuted or deported. You know that it's wrong for us to assist in criminals getting away from law enforcement. You know that. So why are you silent? Why don't you speak up? If you can't speak up for what's right and righteous, then step down and let there be a man of God appointed that is not a pleaser of men, but a pleaser of God. It's that simple. All right. How to get that off my chest, Kyle?
Well, amen to that, Brad.
What say you? What say you?
Well, I agree, and I'm glad that we're talking about this because I think it bears some clarification too. We can't rely on all networks promoting truth the way his channel does. It's just the reality of our media landscape today is that we still have these legacy media outlets who will essentially push out misinformation and push out things that are not factual. They have been doing it on overdrive when it comes to these clashes with protesters who are anything but peaceful. They're professional agitators who are being trained specifically to obstruct federal law enforcement officers from doing their job. And so I think it's really critical that we clarify so that no one has any confusion about what is actually happening here. We've been hearing a lot about what happened under Obama's 8 years. He was the deporter in chief. And this is not a right or left, Republican or Democrat issue. Public safety affects all Americans, and we should all be on the same page here. Again, why it's so important that pastors and faith leaders speak out on this, because there is one truth here. And that is that those crimes are evil. They are sin, and we should stand up to it.
Right.
But what's happening is that people, want to believe, well, it's different under Donald Trump. These ICE agents are using force. They're dragging innocent people from their homes out onto the streets. They're just arresting anyone who's black or brown. And this is the narrative. It is not true. They want to push this narrative. And I think it's really important that we clarify that the only reason under Donald Trump that they're having difficulty, particularly in a place like Minneapolis, is because local law enforcement and state law enforcement, who typically under modern policing models all work together, always to do this, are not working together. They are hindering, they refuse to release these criminals from the jails, from the holding centers, the detention centers, to ICE custody, forcing ICE agents to go into the community to find these violent criminals, the rapists, the murderers, the thieves, the people who are being abusive, being neglectful, committing heinous crimes. They have to now go out into the community and find them. And when professional agitators are paid and equipped specifically to get into that mix and harass and become violent themselves, of course we're going to have this outcome. So let's see it clearly. Let's be clear-eyed and clear thinking about what is happening here, because the truth of the matter is this was not, they're doing the same work they were doing under President Obama and every president before. They're doing the same work that is actually being accomplished in many cities, both blue and red, across the United States, where you do have local law enforcement who are working in tandem and in cooperation with them. These people who are losing their lives, they are absolute tragedies that never, ever should have happened. But the responsibility lies directly on those protesters themselves for involving themselves in a violent way with those agents.
Yeah, in a violent way. I mean, the one lady, Miss Good, I mean, she puts the metal to the pedal with law enforcement, ICE right in front of her, and actually hits him. He has internal bleeding, and as an automatic reflex, he uses his gun to shoot her. That's protected specifically and explicitly in the law. And the other gentleman, he brings a gun, and he's resisting arrest, and he's out there resisting arrest, and he's brought to the ground, and apparently the impression is that he's looking to grab his gun. You don't hesitate. You shoot people like that. But one of the reasons we have is because the politicians, the mayor of the city has the blood on his hands. Governor of Minnesota, Waltz, it's on his hands because they're stirring the pan. They're encouraging this. They're using for their own political maneuvering activities that they know are going to result in people getting killed when they violently engage law enforcement. And then number two, that they encourage the police to stand down. No, police, you just back away. You stay away. Let the mob do what they're going to do. And let's just see what happens to ICE. Shame on them. Shame on them. That's disgraceful, and they should be fired. And the people who vote for those people have the blood on their hands. You vote for those politicians, folks, you have the blood of those people on your hands, because that's where it's coming from. These politicians and their party are stirring this up, stirring up the dust to create more people out there being violent, demonstrating, and engaging in these activities, pushing it to the edge where we have these kinds of things resulting. Also, so I've heard one person say, well, they're wearing masks. They shouldn't wear masks. Really? The cartel wants these immigrants to stay there, want the criminals to stay there. So if they can identify an agent, then they can go and kill their wives and kids. And then who's going to want to be an ICE agent? No one. That's why they have to protect their identity. The identity is not protected for legal purposes. If any injustice happens, that person can be prosecuted, mask or no mask, but the cartel and organized crime and the evil people will not be able to track him down for the purpose of killing his wife and kids. So let's use our brains, folks. Let's use our brains. All right. It's been a good talk, Kyle. Thank you for joining us today. Appreciate it, and I look forward to the next time to visit.
We would love the opportunity to continue to serve you. Just visit pji.org and click the Legal Insider button to sign up for our email newsletter. At PJI, we help individual employees, employers, business owners, pastors, students, citizens of every stripe through our practical resources, counsel, representation, and defense, all free of charge at pji.org. PJI is an island of stability and assurance in our ever-churning sea of legal and societal chaos. We are here for you.
So, folks, just remember, it's our God-given freedoms we're talking about. Now, let's choose to keep them. I'm Brad Dacus, president of the Pacific Justice Institute. Let's continue the fight for your freedoms.